Okay, now Coach Simpson, we'll open it right up for questions. Come.
Obviously, you were one of the first people that Coach Key hired when he went to look to revamp the defensive staff. What made you decide to come to Georgia Tech and want to be part of the staff?
Man, I don't know if we have enough time for this one. A lot of reasons maybe want to come to Georgia Tech. First, like starting with this place. This is a special place. The opportunities that guys that I've known my whole life and what Georgia Tech football has done for guys that have come here and been able to get a degree. Certainly me growing up just up the road from here, well aware of this institution, this degree and this football program and its rich the tradition here is very, very special. Goes way back. Coach Key and his vision, the excitement he's created, being a Georgia Tech man. I think anytime, a place has one of their own there, like people just seem more excited, more invested, and you can kind of feel the energy. You sense the arrow is up, like this place is doing football right, and so that's a big deal for me. I think lastly, what's really special, on top of that is family for me. Born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, spent most of my coaching life here in the state of Georgia as a high school coach. Spent 3 years with the Falcons here in Atlanta as well. And then, I've been down in Florida a little bit, been in North Carolina, but getting to come back home. I have 4 kids. They're all within 20 minutes to an hour of right here. I got a new grandbaby in January, and she's up in Duluth, and little Melda. And then my mom lives in Marietta now. And being able to help her and take care of her, so for professional and personal reasons, this was absolutely a no-brainer for me and my family.
Jackson.
Oh, what's been your first impressions of the group you're coaching so far this spring?
You know what? I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I literally roll out of bed really early every day, and I absolutely love what I do. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love investing in young men. And what that makes that even better is when you walk into a room and those guys are hungry to learn. They're hungry to grow. They're hungry to build relationships. When I first walked in, I talked about a few things. I talked about taking a leap of faith, being able to trust me. What is trust? Trust is consistency over time. And those guys understanding who I was as a man, a leader, a father, a husband, and how I wanted to pour into them. And, their response to me and how we've started just growing a relationship in our room, player to coach, coach to player, has been an absolute blast. And so it started really, really well. I've really enjoyed getting to know these guys.
Talk about a couple of guys. You got Zeke Biggers, who, has a couple of years under his belt.
Yes, sir.
And Horace last year came in and got his first full year. They seem like a pretty good tandem. What are you seeing from them?
You know what? And I'd say, Machias in that group, those 3 guys have kind of been the bell cows of, Horace is a little younger. But I would say those guys have really wanted to grow every day. They've literally, fought complacency. They're not satisfied where they're at. They have a vision for what they want to be as a player, and they're buying in and doing the extra, trying to grow every single day. They care about football. They're smart kids. They're good teammates, and just really excited about the direction. Not, never satisfied with where we are, but excited about where we're going. And I think they can kind of feel it, smell it, taste it. They're like, wow, this could be, if we do what we're supposed to do, if we go through this process, and the process is hard, becoming a really good football player, becoming a really good defense, becoming a really good unit as a D-line, that's not easy. A lot of heavy lifting, a lot of loads to lift, a lot of hard work to do, but these guys are buying into it, so it's excited me.
To touch on recruiting, because Coach Key said, it's relationships, and you guys have hit Georgia hard. And you got probably a different perspective than a lot of the assistant coaches when it comes to recruiting, this state. So what's sort of been your pitch and your discussions with recruits about playing for Coach Key?
You know what? I think, recruiting is finding a fit for everybody. And when you feel like you fit as a coach and you understand the people you're working with and working for, you understand your university and what it has to offer, you understand the defense that you're coaching and how to feature players within that defense. And then obviously for me as an old Georgia high school coach, I'm just a high school coach. I'm just a high school line coach that got to coach at Georgia Tech. That's literally what I am. And, a lot of great relationships in this state. A lot of guys that I really trust that I feel like can trust me. And when you're honest with folks, they're honest with you about their players, and you're looking for that fit. You're looking for a guy that fits what we need, and we fit what he needs. And that's the cool thing about it, because I've sat on the other side of the table as a high school coach, and you want to send your player, and families want to send their kids to folks that they can trust. And they're going to develop them as students and develop them as athletes and develop them as young men. And obviously, I believe wholeheartedly that's what we have here at Georgia Tech.
You mentioned Scott earlier. He's a guy that's been used inside and outside.
Yes, sir.
Will you continue to use him that way?
You know what? I'll never say no to that. But, man, he's been a bell cow inside this spring. He's 290 pounds. He has position flex. Played him a lot at 3 technique this spring. I can see him getting some base work on first and second downs at 5 technique. We used him on third downs at 5 technique this spring. So he definitely has that position flex, and you love to have that. But right now, like, his greatest value to us probably inside right now. But, obviously that could change. But he's done a really, really good, really sharp kid. A Gainesville kid. He'd come up in the summer during our training camps when I was with the Falcons and be a ball boy. So met him years and years ago. So it's kind of been really cool to reconnect with him. But just an incredible young man.
I was a little curious about how you guys use the D tackles. Coach said that you'd have a nose and a D tackle, and across the line, kind of, it seems like there's some flexibility in how you guys can line up and that kind of thing. But just what does that look like? Do you cross train the guys? Do you have a
100%
nose?
I do. I believe in that. The old saying, the more you can do. I want my noses to understand threes. I want my 3 to understand nose. I want that 3 technique to understand what the rush and the end are doing. From a learning, whole part whole. It's amazing when they, you want a D-line to play together. Well, man, go spend a rack at 5 technique instead of 3 technique. Spend a rack at nose instead of 3, and I think it really brings a togetherness and a connectedness of how we play together. And then your football knowledge begins to – I'm an inside shade. I'm an outside shade. I'm playing head up. Backfield sets, tight end alignments. I'm expecting these blocks. I always say the best players in the world make great plays, not just because they're great players, but because they know. And when you know, you go. And when you can look and take a big picture of what's in front of me, and then you can get your vision small before a ball snap, guys can make plays because a lot of times they know, hey, I'm about to get this. So I think that development, especially in the spring and the summer, as you go through fall camp, sometimes obviously those roles will tighten up, but it's a great way to learn.
Anything else for Coach Simpson? Go ahead if you want to wrap this up.
I was curious about AO, the transfer you guys got from
Yeah.
Florida State, and kind of what you've seen from him and how he fits into the defense.
You know what? Really, really raw. Has some real tools, some real power. Like when he goes, man, you feel that guy. And it literally right now it's about learning what to do, how to do it, be consistent in what you do and how you do it. But done a good job for us.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Hopefully I want to.